Hey everybody, this is Andre here with the Kevin Breeze channel, and this is camera tips and tricks for the OnePlus Nord N10 5G. This phone is relatively new, being released in November of 2020, and today we're going to be going over some different features on the camera that you might not know about. Let's get started. So the first thing I want to go over is how to use the ultra-wide camera. Now the ultra-wide camera is a really nice feature, and on this phone, it takes some really good quality pictures as well. Different phones have different ways of actually accessing the ultra-wide camera, so I'm going to show you how to do it on this phone. We are in the regular camera mode right now, and all you need to do to activate the ultra-wide camera is press this button right here. With this activated, it's going to get a much wider angle, and one of the nice things about this ultra-wide camera is it doesn't have a whole lot of distortion either. So you're getting a really high quality image while also being able to capture a larger space when you're taking the photo. This function is really nice. You can use it for things like group photos, taking pictures of larger objects, lots of different things that you wouldn't be able to do as easily without the ultra-wide camera. Now, quite the opposite to the ultra-wide camera, I'm going to show you how to access the macro camera. A lot of the time, you'll actually have to go into some sort of settings mode to activate this function, but with this phone, all you need to do is press this button. The other step to this, see right here how this is crossed out. You're going to want to tap that, and now macro mode is going to be activated. With macro mode on, you can take really close-up pictures that captures every little detail of the object. This is super useful if you're doing photography and want to get a more interesting angle or whatever the case may be. It's definitely a nice feature to have. The extra bonus with this phone is the macro camera is actually good, because with a lot of phones, especially in the entry level and mid-range, the macro cameras really aren't that great quality, whereas with this phone, the quality of the image is actually pretty impressive. Now sometimes you might be in a situation where the picture needs to be in a different aspect ratio in order for it to show up properly. Now you can easily do this with an editing app of any kind, but I'm going to show you how to get it on the phone in the first place so you can skip the step and save yourself some time. So we're going to go to settings right here. And right at the top, see where it says aspect ratio? We're going to select that. And you can change it to full, which is the entire screen, or 1:1, which is a square. Being able to change the aspect ratio is really nice because it saves you some time in the editing process when you actually have to change the aspect ratio for the picture. For example, a social media platform like Instagram is optimized for square images, and some websites might be set in different ways. So definitely changing the aspect ratio before you take the picture does make it a lot easier to have it like this when you go to upload the photo. So you might notice that every time you take a picture with this phone, you hear a shutter sound. Well, I'm going to show you how to get rid of that if you don't like it. So we're going to go up to settings again, scroll down a little bit, and we're going to toggle off shutter sound. Now, every time you take a picture, it's going to be quiet, so you don't have to deal with that sound. So you might be in a situation where you have to get a specific angle or have a picture specifically centered in a certain way in the frame. And I'm going to show you a couple different ways you can make this a lot easier. So the first thing is the leveling assistant. So for this, you're going to scroll all the way to where it says Pro. And right here, you have a leveler. So this green line is going to show you if you're level or not. If you move the camera to an angle, it's going to show up like that. But if you have it straight, it's going to turn green. This makes it a lot easier to see if your picture is actually level. The next thing I'm going to show you is the grid. We're going to go to settings for this, scroll down, and select grid. This is going to give you a few different examples. The one I typically use is golden ratio, but you can use whichever one you want. So this is going to show you the exact center of the photo, and it's going to give you reference points to make it easier to take the picture at an angle that you want. So another thing that might be a little bit difficult when you're trying to hold the camera steady to take a picture at a certain angle is actually pressing the shutter. I'm going to show you an alternative way to activate the shutter that might be a little bit easier in those situations. So again, we're going to go to settings, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and right here where it says long press to take a photo, we're going to turn that on. Now whenever you want to take a photo, instead of just pressing the shutter button, all you need to do is put your finger on the fingerprint scanner. And it can be any finger, it doesn't have to be the one that's actually registered with the fingerprint scanner. There we go. That was really easy. So this feature is really useful in the normal camera mode, especially if you're, say, using two hands to keep the camera steady and don't want to actually move your hand to press the shutter, then this is a great option. Or if you're taking a selfie, something like that, it's definitely a nice alternative way to take a photo. Now I'm going to show you a couple different ways to open the camera faster. So the first way is actually built into the phone by default, and that is just going to be double tapping the power button. The first time you do this, it's going to ask which app you want to open, which I think is a really nice feature, because if you use an app like Snapchat, for example, that actually uses the camera as well, then you'll have the option to have it open that instead. And I think this is really convenient, especially the nature of something like Snapchat is to have the camera readily available as fast as possible to capture a moment. And by just double clicking instead of searching for the app and opening it manually, you're going to save a lot of time and most likely be able to capture those moments better. Now I'm going to show you another way that's a little bit more involved to set up, but really just as easy. So we're going to go to settings for this, hit the search bar and type gestures, and we're going to hit buttons and gestures. After that, we're going to go to quick gestures and see these letters right here. Each one of these letters is going to have a different function that you can assign to it. So for example, I'm going to hit draw O, and right here, you can have it open the camera. Now, when my screen is off and I draw an O on the screen, it's going to open the camera. It's so easy, and you can make it not only open the camera, but do a lot of other cool things too. So it really gives you some flexibility on what you can access fast. So it really gives you some options to access your favorite apps and functions really quickly without even unlocking the phone. Now, this next thing is a little bit basic, but at the same time, still important to know. And this is going to be how to take a screenshot. The reason I'm bringing this up is this phone has a couple unique ways to do it. So when you get a new phone like this one, it's always good to know. So the first way is the most obvious one. Press the power button and the volume down button at the same time. There we go. But the other way that you may not be aware of is putting 3 fingers on the screen and swiping. This is so easy to do, and it's really cool once you get the hang of it. But it doesn't come by default activated, so I'm going to show you how to make sure it is activated. So we're going to go to settings again, go to the search bar, and hit gestures once more. Go to buttons and gestures, hit quick gestures again, and make sure 3-finger screenshot is activated. With this activated, you're going to be able to take those 3-finger screenshots, and again, 3 fingers spread a little bit apart. It's not going to work with 2. It's not going to work when they're together. It does need 3 fingers spread noticeably apart, and then there you go. I think it's a lot easier than pressing the buttons, and really it doesn't make a whole lot of a difference, but no matter what, it's a lot more enjoyable and allows for precision when you're trying to take a screenshot quickly of something specific. Now, another really weird way to do it that you might not know about is by pressing and holding the power button. The power menu comes up and you actually select screenshot. Now, I don't really know why anyone would actually do it this way. It's not really that useful, and there's so many other ways to do it. In order for this to be possible, you actually have to be in the buttons and gestures menu. Same thing as all the other gestures we went over. And right here, by default, it's actually on voice assistant, and you have to switch it to power menu. So the power menu shows up when you press and hold this button. But that is another way to take a screenshot. Again, it's a little weird and probably not anyone's first choice as far as methods to take a screenshot, but it is there if you ever want to use it like that. Now, the last thing I'm going to go over is the video quality. Now, as you may or may not know, in the rear camera, this phone is actually capable of shooting in qualities up to 4K, which is really useful if you're taking videos for professional purposes and you want to get the best quality possible. But the thing is, it's not actually 4K by default, so I'm going to show you how you can make sure that it's actually set to the right setting when you go to take a 4K video. So again, go up to settings, scroll down, and select video resolution. Now this is going to give you a few options. For the highest quality, you're going to want to select this one. And keep in mind that this does actually take up a pretty decent amount of storage. So if you're shooting really long 4K videos, be aware of how much space you actually have left so you know when to transfer it to a computer or an external drive or whatever you're using to store the videos. At its highest, it will be an Ultra HD cinema quality, which is really good for shooting videos, and it's really impressive that a phone of this price level is able to do something like this. But this was some quick camera tips and tricks for the OnePlus Nord N10 5G. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you learned something new as well. If you did, definitely be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you want any more information about the device or some pricing and availability information, definitely watch the full review and comparisons with this phone on the channel, because those videos have a lot of in-depth information about the device itself. And the link in the description is going to give you some information about pricing and availability, because pricing and availability is always changing. But as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.